We have in the studio John Alexander Cohn. He is the Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Is that the right name for the minister?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
it is.
today I've tried. Which is your original constituency? Obuasi
West.
Obuasi West.
Indeed, I picked my forms yesterday.
You did pick your form?
Yes.
You hope to win there?
Sincerely, I've been appreciating since 2008.
Really?
Lifted it from 4,000 to 26,000, and then if you combine before the split, it should come to close to 32,000. I'm
not being disrespectful though, but you know, you and I are conversation over strong.
I understand it.
All right, so let's not go.
But God has a way.
Great. Yesterday, the district level elections took place. What
yes, I did vote.
You went to
Obuasi.
When did you come in?
I came yesterday. In fact, I've been there over the weekend.
Oh, okay. So you just stayed over?
I continued to do the voting and then pick the form and eventually come. So I was in Accra yesterday to receive a conferment from what is called the Civilian Institute of Democratic Administration.
They honored you?
Yes, a fellowship.
What work have you been doing to deserve
Well,
that?
I don't know how they managed to know me, but it's about democratic dispensation and how we are doing the administration in terms of current dispensation. And therefore, they want Africa to shine by themselves in trying to be democratic in the administration. So they select. I don't know how they did it anyway.
Anyway, I really do like you though. I have a personal admiration for the way you...
Yes, the assembly election, again, low turnout. And I've heard a lot of commentary about the low turnout because of partisanship and things like that. I think I stand very differently.
You don't think there was a low turnout?
There was a low turnout, but the reason could not be the fact that we are not making it partisan. I disagree. It is people's interests. The interest level for now, what it means for us is that we haven't reaped enough interest at the local level of our democratic dispensation.
What should we have been doing?
We should even concentrate there than anywhere at all. If you look at the decentralization process, what it says is that we should decentralize, we should get the power to the people. What it means is that, so if you look at the structures from the assembly, now everything's assembly member. But in the dispensation, it should trickle down not to the assembly member, but to the unit committee member. And depending on where you are, it could be a town council or zonal council or sub-metro council. That is where decisions need to be taken. So the unit committees are very important. In fact, if you look at the act, immediately you move from the assembly...
You mean the local government?
Local government tax forces to... You move from the assembly to your electoral area. Unit committee is in control. And therefore, the convener of meetings in the unit area is the convener of the unit committee and not the assembly member. So we should try and work well and solidify the position of the unit committees. And when they are very strong, they will come out very strongly and shape up the interest within the various areas. But to the extent that we've gone and it is at the level of the assembly alone, that's what the danger is. So we should do more on the ground. For people to understand that those who live closer to you, the unit committee members, are very important in the structure.
If you say do more on the ground, doing what?
If you look at it, I appreciate people have come to know that there's an assembly and then electoral areas of assembly members. Most people do not even know the unit committee members who were contesting. And they don't know that it was recently changed by law to make it to go along the lines of the electoral areas. Earlier on, it wasn't like that. Now it's 5 people in any electoral area and vote along the assemblyman. So the assembly in the electoral area. If you're Obuasi, for example, it's a municipal assembly. So we have 5 zonal councils. And with the zonal councils, you go to elect amongst the unit committee members and the assembly members within the zonal council to the zonal council office. So not everybody will necessarily be a member of the zonal council office. What it means the structure is that all those who belong to that zone, the electoral areas, there could be 7, there could be 5, depending on your numbers, will then have their projects from the various unit committees. They will go and meet at the zonal council and prioritize within the zone what they want before the assemblyman takes that one to the various subcommittees of the assembly and eventually to the executive committee. So if you are not there, how do you select projects? So people should see that in selecting projects, it is within the power of the unit committee members. So they're able to make sure they are strong and they understand and they have contact. They are even in charge of special development. You should locate, place a copy of your development plan in their offices. So that when somebody brings along the way, they have every right to look at it and immediately act. So you need to come from far to come and act. So we should make sure they are well powered to do that duty. And when they give that confidence to the residents of the area, they will start taking interest in those elections.
By all the things you're advocating, you're saying it goes beyond just public education?
Oh, just basically, It's public education. Basically, it's public education.
Because you're talking about wheeling up people's interests, and if you want to wheel up people's interests, talks about the communication aspect. Well, if it's information, education, communication, but also perhaps organization, mobilization.
Yeah, definitely. But you know that all the issue of a democracy is to break the disconnect between the top and the down. And therefore, gradually, we say that no, it should not be the presidency. We say it should be a parliament. Who should represent the people? We say no, even in parliament, like it's like parliament. If a parliamentarian goes to the district, he's a member of the assembly, but an official member. So the power within the sector, it doesn't vote, belong to the members of the assembly. And that's the reason. When you also go down, the power also belongs to the unit committee and the zonal councils, some metro councils. And the purpose of democracy is to break the disconnect and get it as closer as possible to the people. And that's why we have the unit committees who live amongst you. To what extent are they relating to them? Most areas don't know. They even don't know the relationship. But if you know you are a member, obviously your house will be bombarded with a lot of issues that's happening within the area. That will be a progress. So there's a lot of capacity, but then mobilization and issues to be done, education, big time.
Especially when the day, for example, I live at a place called Ajekwejo. It's along the Tema-Accra motorway, close to Ashama, or let's say in between Ashama and Lashibi or whatever it is. I work in Accra. It's not a holiday. It's not as if I don't care. I really even have a very close relationship with the assemblyman. But I can't go and vote because I have to work.
Well, that's
people have even done registration in their home communities, and how their electoral areas are developed. It should be also an important.
I think it's been cured somehow, and we need to study from best principles. It's been cured because everybody in abroad will have the same problem. He will even go to his work if it's not a holiday, and if there's no guarantee that you would vote. How accessible is the voting procedure? So
because abroad, you can stay in your home and vote.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that
here, unless you go in queue, and
yes.
the TV cameras and
so immediately we'll discuss. So that even is one of the determinations. But people are saying that even on the national elections, it's not a holiday. But people again go to queue. So I agree with you. We should reform our situation to the point that in the homes I can easily vote when we get the data right. So we should hit on data and use good softwares which is available to do the voting system.
Anyway, we hope that will be improved. At the end of the day, there were concerns that some of the candidates were being indirectly, overtly or covertly supported by the political parties.
Yeah.
Indeed, you just have to look at their posters. And in the absence of any emblem, or if there was an emblem, you get to know which party this very gentleman or lady belongs to.
Well, you know that human being, the good book says that we are selfish, aren't we? He also take advantage of situations and work on his own. So if you give any leeway, the person will capitalize. And that is why systems are all about. There shouldn't be possibility of somebody getting a leeway. If there's a leeway, people are going to exploit. So what do we do to ensure that nobody gets the easier chance of misbehaving to that extent? So I think now, once we have agreed that we should be non-partisan, we should go by the rules. And we should be strict in enforcement. I am of that stronger view.
Well, very interesting. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Emmanuel Chamantingejako. He's a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wogon constituency. And we're taking a break. We'll be right back.
A polling agent at the Bimbisek polling center in the Nanumba North District of the Northern Region was slapped by a voter when he tried to stop him from casting 2 ballots. Thahidu Arimeyao stopped Adam Hanan from voting for his friend after he had cast his ballot. But Adam did not find this funny. He demanded that he be allowed to vote and gave the polling agent a heavy slap for barring him from voting again.
Party agent with this guy, Awisu, honorable, and then a certain guy came and collect the ballot paper and vote for a certain man. So I complained, and the guy came and slapped me. I didn't, unfortunately, I didn't do anything. I didn't react. I just leave him, and then I told them if there's not policeman, we won't vote again. So they sacked that guy away. He said he will meet me any place, he will deal with me. And because he's my brother, I didn't want to act. Yeah, that's all.
There was no security agent present at the polling station as at the time the incident occurred. In the Western region, residents staged a protest against the elections at Kansarodo in the Sekundita Kradi metropolis. The people have been angered by the last-minute disqualification of one aspirant, which, according to them, came with no tangible reason. Security officials from the Rapid Deployment Force were stationed at the polling center to bring the situation under control. The situation was no different at the Kwabre East District in the Ashanti region. Security officials there had to intervene to disperse angry voters who besieged the assembly office following the suspension of voting at the Kenyasi West electoral area. This was after EC officials had decided to suspend the polls because they needed to print new ballot papers after some anomalies were pointed out. But the residents did not take kindly to this explanation. According to some of the aspirants, they had spent a lot of money to cook and prepare for the elections and do not understand why it should be postponed. The security services had to step in to calm nerves. In the Upper East regional capital, Bolgatanga, the elections were put on hold because of heavy rains. Correspondent Albert Sori reported that several polling stations sited under trees in the municipality have had to be relocated to prevent the destruction of electoral materials. Voting was delayed.
So we've been joined by Emmanuel Jakon, former chief executive for the Food and Drugs Authority, but currently the Ayawaso West Wargon Member of Parliament. Thanks for joining me.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay. What do you make of the observations from the district level elections? Turnout was very low, and also the whole enthusiasm towards it was not right. I hear, though, verification processes this time around were better.
Thank you for having me this morning, and let me use this opportunity to say a very good morning to our viewers. District Assembly elections, I think that all of us will agree that the concept of decentralization is a very good one. I rather think that we have created a huge anomalous situation for ourselves. Historically, when the decentralization process, bedrock of which was the creation of the district assemblies and all of this started, I agree, we were in an era that did not permit political parties, partisan politics. So it carried on until we transited into a democracy based on partisan politics. The proponents of, or those who think that we should continue this way, say that at the local level we must take out the politics because the issues are developmental and so on and so forth. But I find that argument rather warped. The whole country is about development. Ghana is about, or the expectation of every Ghanaian is that we must have development. If at the highest level, if at the national level, we are practicing a partisan, democracy, or our democracy is based on party politics, then I find it rather awkward that anybody would think that at the local level it should be something different. There have been all sorts of arguments. There will be instability, there will be sabotage, there will be... It is because, I think that if there's those that argue that way, it is only because they think that power is for control, power is to do what I want, power is to keep, and if you're on my side, I must look at you. If you are not on my side, I must find a way to punish you. I can't see it. We have a budget. I think that the whole nation revolves around the budget. Whatever we do in a year, in a fiscal year, just revolves around the budget. Once the budget is made, once the allocation to the DACF is there, once the formula is approved, once appropriation is passed, I can't see how anybody would say, I won't take it to this district or this assembly because the mayor or the chief executive of that district is against me. I think if we follow the rules, nothing like this is going to happen. It happens everywhere. I think it happens in every jurisdiction. I still find it awkward. And indeed, I think it is because of this that we are seeing, I was listening to some commentary this morning. In 1988, I hear that the participation was about 69%. In the last election, I hear it had come down to 35%. I'm waiting to find out the aggregate for this election.
Could be smaller.
It's certainly in Legon, in one polling station in Legon. I went there at 5 o'clock. Only one person had voted.
You mean at the end of the day?
Yeah, at 5 o'clock. Only one person had voted. I think we are not being fair to ourselves. We want to tickle ourselves and laugh. You know, after we spend so much money on these things, it must benefit this country. You go to an assembly and so the assembly members have been elected by 10 or 15% of the electorate. Is it representative?
Well, the electorate decided not to participate.
Yeah, it is because probably there may be some other reasons, but I think that those that clearly understand must examine it and find solutions to it.
Okay.
Because, like I'm saying, I've been an assemblyman before. I've been a government appointee to the assembly. I've been an elected assemblyman. I have been a presiding member of the Lower Manyakobo District Assembly for about 7 years. I clearly understand, I think I clearly understand the nuances. Look, this bit about it is non-partisan, it's a sham and we must get away from it.
You mean what indirectly it is partisan?
When yesterday in my elections, I know the people who are MPP, I know the people who are NDC, I know who, you understand me? So out of the 6 electoral areas...
And you think formalizing it is a way to go?
I think formalizing it is a way to go.
It will make it more active?
It will make it more attractive. It will put...
Mr. Chairman, let's create a scenario. Let's say stronghold of the NDC is a Volta region.
Yeah.
Stronghold of the MPP is the Ashanti region,
yes.
and predominantly. So you have, let's say, the NDC government in power,
yes.
or could be the MPP government in
yes.
power. You have a lot of the assembly members, or if not all, let's say in the Volta region, etc.
Yes.
Let's say 90% being
yes.
NDC.
Yes.
And vice versa, you go to the
yes.
other side too.
Yes.
I know that as far as the structure is, you take decisions.
Yes.
At that very level.
Yes, at the assembly level.
Okay.
Yes.
Wouldn't there be inhibitions? Supposing they don't like the government of the day.
So they don't like the government of the day.
And
so they will not take care of their own development. They will go to sit in the assembly, and if it is an MPP government, all they will go and sit to do is to say that let us destroy the school and let us destroy the hospital and let us not ask for a feeder route.
Okay, I get your point. Makes a lot of sense.
I mean,
but at the end of the day, I have to ask you, Mr. Akon, if we have political party activity at that level, what does it bring? If we don't have, what does it bring?
Yes. Then before that, I'm also saying that if people actually paraded as political party activists and campaigned,
then indeed they did.
And how come the turnout is still low?
No, because we have not legalized it. And so nobody wants to do the funding. Nobody wants to make sure they do the backing.
That is where the danger is.
Nobody wants to help mobilize people to come and vote.
That's where the danger is. But that one will subject it to further debate. Because the point is that even at the top level, people are talking about funding. We've discussed political party funding for a long time. Now we want to go down and seek funding at that level. There's also a problem there. Even now, for what they are spending, they are even complaining. And when they go, they want to be the effects in real development. When people say, I've spent my money at that level, we need to do a total discussion. That's what it means to fund at that level. How does he recoup? Is it recoupable? If not, what are the ways to do that one? There's a lot of discussion to be made. But to me, I've told you already that I think that local structures are not too strong at the unit committee level, who should be very powerful, and then try to let people come closer to governance. So I'm saying that partisan or not partisan, The framers, like you said, from PNC law 207 and brought it back to 462, thought that at that level it should be non-partisan. Now we should argue if it's partisan and not partisan, how would that impact? We're only talking about impact on the basis of saying that political parties are going to mobilize people for voting without ending that development. What is happening now? I've also been an assembly member before, and to me, if you go to the assemblies, few of them are partisan, like it happens. Most of them are not.
Really?
Oh, yes. I've sat in assembly meetings a lot. I've been there. And I was not partisan, but I belonged to a political party.
No.
But
no.
I was.
No. Listen, if you're saying the discussions were not partisan, yes. It's not everything in Parliament that is partisan.
Absolutely.
Okay. But the point is that the nature is partisan.
Everything in.
Okay. We know that at the assembly level, they are all linked to political parties. I mean, we shouldn't kill ourselves.
Not all. I mean, not all. But I'm saying, you cannot say you don't have that one happening. It is there. But I'm saying that by and large, the assembly discussions, it's like Parliament. It comes to that level.
Nobody's saying there's partisanship in the discussions.
Okay.
The point is that there's partisanship in the mindset of those who do the discussions.
Yes,
and ultimately, that also tends to influence the decision they may take one way or the other.
But civil responsibility should not be equated to partisan approach. If you do that, then everything else is going to be partisan. We are also complaining that why are we, even at the top level, making every discussion partisan? And they want to do something at the local level, which will also be another partisan industry. So what are we doing when we're already complaining? The experience of today should inform us about what should happen at the ground. So I thought we're going to carry that experience to know what to do at the ground and not divide this country on partisan basis. So I think we need to do more. If we come together and say, no, at that level, let's all work together to see that we are one guy, it's fine. Because so much partisanship is becoming a problem in this country. And we are all concerned, aren't we? Why do we then extend it to that level? So maybe it's easier to draw fast conclusions, but let's put everything together and then try to start discussion on it.
Sir, I know that at your level.
I think that I can agree with him to a certain extent. I mean, I think all of us are concerned about the partisanship we take into everything. But they say that if a fish will rot, it starts from the head. There is too much partisanship at the top, too much of it. Today, if people want to give scholarships, they will look at where does this, or you have to bring a card, or your mother must bring her card, or your mother must bring something to show that he belongs to this party or that party before they will take you to Cuba.
Are you saying if I get a scholarship, for example, because I'm Roland Walker, at the end of the day, it's because I belong either to the NDC or otherwise?
I am being very generic in this discussion. I am not mentioning...
No, I know. I'm also trying...
I am saying that we have allowed our partisanship to come into everything. It determines virtually whether you can get the scholarship to go to Cuba or you will not. Whether you get enrolled in the police or the military or not.
So we should let the status quo continue?
No, we should not let
It's not rather making sure that we take steps to curb it?
Yeah, but, you know, we are saying that it is at the top. So we shouldn't let it descend. Already, it is there.
When you were an assembly member?
Yes, when I was an assembly member.
Was it partisan? Were your activities or partisan?
The debate. No. And when it came to the debate, it was really to do things for the Lower Manyakrobo district. Okay. So when it was something that all of us agreed on, like we do in Parliament today, 7 out of the 10 issues that come before us in Parliament, once it goes through the committee and we have had a discussion, we virtually agree. We may have differences. Okay. Probably 3 out of 10, we have contentions. Okay. It is not only. It is really just sometimes the approach, the way to do the things, and all of this. It is not always partisan, but sometimes it is just the perspectives. Okay. So I want to believe that sometimes there are crossovers.
Okay.
But I think that it is completely anomalous to have the big structure as partisan, and then you will begin to say that we will not have this. Of course, I can also agree with him that I think that the impact of the assemblies is not felt that much. You know, my personal view is that probably there are too many assemblymen. So we are not able to resource them adequately to do the things. My view, again, it is my considered view, after I have sat in there, was that if the numbers were reduced and they were better resourced, like where I came from, people will come from Obopa to Odumasi for a meeting. And how do you expect somebody to come from Obopa to Odumasi to attend an assembly meeting when probably the stipend he will get at the end is not enough to bring him and carry him back? Okay, I thought that if the numbers were reduced and the resources were
so the whole debate we're having here is that we just need to take a relook.
Well, I think
okay.
So. I think
all right.
So.
I wanted us to continue,
yes.
but no more debate on the subject. I have IMF verdict on Ghana shows government is on track to stabilize economy. I think this one we've been discussing all over. So congratulations to government on this. We'll comment on it. But the MPs have not been giving us money. That's a headline from the various news portals. And Paul Afoku, who is the chairman of your party, apparently you don't contribute to the party. Is that Chairman Tingejako? I'm not talking about you, generic. You say you use generic.
But why don't you want us to speak
no,
to
we'll talk. We'll use 5 minutes to talk about that one.
Yeah, because this has huge national consequences. What we do.
Okay, let's use 5 minutes to talk about this. Then
what we do in our party is we can talk about it. It is not a problem. But I think that on the scale of
national
impact, we have an IMF program and. We are
let's use 5 minutes. Why do you have to compel? Why do you have to compel the party chairman to be issuing public statement on issues that really should be internal matters?
First and foremost, I have not read personally what the party chairman said. No, it's not. I mean, it is unfortunate for me. Really, I think it is unfortunate that we should be speaking about this publicly. Whether it is the party chairman or it is this or it is this, it is not necessary. It is not for the people out there to know whether we contribute or we don't contribute, whether we have stopped the contribution. I think that as a caucus, we have made enormous contributions to this. Enormous. I mean, I will not sit here and tell you how much is taken out of my salary every month just for party activities. But when it is necessary, we have made significant contribution. And I mean it is significant. I can tell you, in the last by-election, we were in the forefront, and it did cost us as a caucus a lot of money.
Yeah, it did cost. Only that in the last few months, you've not been. I mean, that's what the statement said.
Yeah, I mean...
From the group of the minority, you decided not to.
I think that, first and foremost, I am saying that it is absolutely unnecessary for this matter to be in the public domain. Absolutely unnecessary.
Great.
The second point I want to make is that I think that we all act upon the exigency. When it is important that we should make a contribution, I am stating without equivocation that we make significant contribution. And I want to underscore the word. The parliamentary caucus makes significant contribution. If at a certain point we decide that we need to apply the funds that we take from our own salaries for something else, I think it is the right of the caucus to determine what to do with this money. I think it is unfortunate that we should be discussing our private matters in public. Wherever it comes from, it is wrong.
It is also your right to either comment or not comment. I love the way you went about it, though. That's good. Great political communication.
Yeah, but
you wanted, it's an internal party, you wanted to make...
No, it's come to the public domain, so definitely we'll have a say to what happens. Ghana is dominantly two political parties. Others have joined, and therefore the good of the parties is good for Ghana. So we all have stake in all that. Definitely, you cannot be out of the fact that there have been developments in the front of the MPP as far as the chairman, general secretary, and others are concerned. Issues of meetings and they have come out very strongly. And recently, there's a running issue, BNI and all that. So on top of that, if you hear... BNI? News item, just create invitation. Whether they've gone or not, I cannot tell, about monies and things like that. So on top of that, if you hear a chairman lamenting definitely it should be a cause of concern. I mean, the fact that parties or parliamentarians contribute to their parties is very right in all parties. So if it's to the extent that he's complaining and monies are not coming, two conclusions are drawn. Is it because priorities have changed, or because he as the chairman is being starved of money to make him ineffective? You need to look at that very strongly. And that is the lamentations of the chairman of the MPP. You may need to consider it. If you don't want it, that is fine.
I don't think, let me state, that I really and truly don't think that it is because, I would say that priorities change. I stated here that...
so the priorities have changed?
Oh, obviously, I mean...
What are they now?
I think that...
That's internal?
Yeah, it's internal, but okay. I really and truly think that...
The chairman should not complain if indeed...
This is...
Okay, let's move on.
This is why
the finance minister, Setekpe, says the verdict of the IMF board, and indeed the IMF board says the country's performance under the current program we're running with them is a clear indication that government is on track to stabilize the economy. This is good news, but at the same time, well, it also says that government restrain on increasing public sector debts, or perhaps its expenditure on wages, is also prudent, and so not creating a lot more employment opportunities within the public sector is also a good one. What do you make of it? Good verdict for you? You seem to be bursting at the seams.
Yeah, but Roland, honestly, if you look at corporate management, even financial management and the corporate Ghana, the baseline is very simple. How do you run a corporate institution? Between the two budget systems in terms of capital and recurrent expenditure. And all best practice talks about capital expenditure always should be on top of recurrent expenditure. In fact, some countries even do 15% of recurrent to capital budgeting. And the effect of this is that if you have more capital budgeting, there's more creation of employment and money back into the system. But the moment you cross 50% and above, and you are doing more recurrent, it implies that your development will stall. So obviously, without even IMF, it calls for concern. Now, how do you become prudent? You go to IMF, and that prudence has come to view. And how are you responding in that comparison? So you do performance, and you see that what's the percentage of salaries to development expenditure. So if the trend is following, then it implies that you are on course and reducing recurrent and adding more to the development expenditure. And that is what will propel your economy very strongly. If you don't do that, you are doing more of the recurrent, you have a problem. And it says that you are going on track. Therefore, we'll continue to support you whilst we look at the fact that you continue to follow those bases.
It's not simple as that. It's not only issue about it. There are a lot of other dynamics and variables.
Definitely, there are dynamics, but this is not.
But we've had talks about how you change the structure of the economy. Ultimately, that also will have a bearing on whatever revenue it is that you create and generate.
I am totally with you. So if you look at it, you read, it's talking about increase in taxes. Very important.
The economy is not doing well. You may increase your taxes, but whatever it is.
Well, let's increase the taxes. Not necessarily. The increase in taxes might not mean increase physical taxes, but adding more into the tax net to make more money.
That's okay. Good accolade.
Well,
good commendation.
The first thing is that we need to ask ourselves, how did we find ourselves here? That is the first thing I think we should that should come into our consideration. How did we get here? How did we get here? That's 2
That's
years,
an overflogged rhetorical question.
No, 2 years after the production of oil, just when they had ended one IMF program, just 1 year or 2 years after this economy was declared one of the fastest growing and the most robust, we found ourselves back, cup in hand, at the Bretton Woods institution, and now virtually everything we are doing is determined by somebody. I think it is unfortunate, but it is for me. It is good that somebody has a whip over us and it's telling us you can do this, you can't do this, you can do this. The reality, what is the reality? The reality is that government has just taken some decisions. There's a cap on wage. We have always said it. The program says that you cannot increase your wage by more than a certain percentage over the period of the 3 years. it says that your net borrowing from the bank. So they were referring that clause was missed. We are still borrowing from the bank. But for me, the real issue is that now there is no subsidy on fuel, there's no subsidy on electricity, water. We are hearing that water is going to go up. All the
utilities
are going to go up by another 100%. We are hearing whether it will pass or it won't pass. But this is the stark reality. We have lived beyond our means in the last 4 or 5 years. We have lived way beyond our means. Government has been profligate. Government has been careless. Government has not done the right things, and it is hitting us right back in our faces.
Where you are as a member of parliament, do you think, with all the observations you see, based on what has been done, maybe the current fiscal year from half of the last year, you believe that the other variables that we need to take consideration of, and I know your flag bearer has been saying that Ghana's economy is a gorgeous big one. Do you think that all those changes we need to do to complement that, government is doing that, and how would that
I really and truly don't think that we are taking care of that now. But you see, when you are extremely ill, when you are not too well, you cannot go ahead and plan to expand your business. And today we are not well. Today we are sick. We have a debt overhang which is almost 70%. We have inflation which is rising. We have a deficit that is not coming down. We have a growth that is anemic. Yeah, I mean, we have grown this economy.
Serious personalization.
When there was no oil, this economy grew at 8.7. When there was oil, at one time we recorded almost 14. Today, the expectation, it has been revised. When the minister called us,
indeed it has been.
He was projecting 3.7. I think it is even 3.5 now. If you take away oil, it is 2.6. This is certainly an anemic economy.
But you can't take out oil. You have to add
What I am saying is that we have these challenges. We have huge instabilities that we need to correct. Look, the effects sometimes is uncanny. Look, we all heard the news. The Ghana contingent went to the African Games. The fees are not paid.
It's not tied to the economy, is it?
Oh, what are you telling me?
Perhaps somebody didn't do his job well.
Oh, no.
It's just paying for airplane tickets.
Didn't we go to Brazil and we had to scramble to collect money in a very unorthodox way? You understand me? So yes, I agree. I think that we must stabilize this economy. We're all Ghanaians and we don't like what's happening. Look at the currency. Look at the exchange rates. Nobody can do any useful business.
It's not good news to me.
Nobody can do any useful business.
The energy crisis is also sapping the economy.
Today we are hearing.
Jobs are not being created.
We are hearing that car power is not bringing the badge because $100 million.
Those are media reports being sourced to a think tank. And you know what Professor Patrice Lumumba said about think tanks in Africa. So let's not go there.
Ronald, very simple. Very simple. When it comes to growth rates, and you have oil to add on, immediately the size of the economy will change. The growth rate would now change from oil because the economy size has changed. So you don't keep adding. So in terms of addition, you may get a quantum jump because you just added onto it, but next year may not be the same thing. But seriously, we had a country which were going through problems. And various organizations were talking internationally. And we said that let's go to Century and come and get a full-blown policy. Let's go to IMF. IMF, people are saying this, let's get the confidence in our economy. They say, oh no, we want to support you. These are the agreements. IMF have come to assess, and they said, no, you are passing, you are going through the right route. So we are releasing more, 106.6 million to come and support you. Clearly, that is enough support globally to see the track government is going. And I think that it's very good for Ghana to be seen by IMF as doing very well. So it implies that all other donors, all other supporters, all other relationships will take it from that state and keep supporting for us to stabilize everything.
Why did we find ourselves here?
That's a key question. A question that has been asked over the last 2 years or so. And it's 8:46 now. I guess we have to end and bring you entertainment. It's brought to you by Airtel. But my guests this morning have been John Alexander Kwon, Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Thanks for joining me. And also Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency, former Chief Executive Food and Drugs Authority, and Emmanuel Tramanting Ejako.
I keep referring to Food and Drugs Authority. Currently I'm a member of parliament. I think
okay, member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wogo, Emmanuel Tramanting Ejako.
You don't refer to him as a former district chief executive. So I am currently...
I should just stick to it.
Yeah,
and that'll be it. Thanks for joining me, sir. Now, Gladys already will be here with entertainment. Do stay on. We'll bring you a lot more.